It has been a very long time coming, but Overwatch 2 is finally here, and it is fantastic. The launch has been terrible, with servers down for days. Now that it's finally working and I've gotten a solid nearly 20 hours in though, I am a happy boy. The changes feel great. The new maps and heroes are excellent, and the changes to being free to play have gone well so far. I absolutely loved the original Overwatch, putting over 1,000 hours into it. So let's break down what's changed, what's new, and what is still just a little bit broken in the XboxEra review of Overwatch 2's PvP. The big question is, why call it 2? As a longtime World of Warcraft player, this feels like a game-changing expansion to me in a lot of ways. Activision has long maintained that making some of the worst decisions possible is their go-to for any given situation, so Overwatch 2 it is. There is a lot changed in this game though. All but a few heroes have been adjusted in some ways, with the tanks seeing the biggest changes of all. That is because this is now a 5v5 PvP title instead of the original release's 6v6, and I think it has been a brilliant change. The meta, aka the current best way to play, has been ever evolving for the series, and for a while it had become a far slower and more boring shoot the shields back and forth that eventually drove me away from playing the game often. This new 5v5 setup that sees 1 tank, 2 DPS, and 2 healers is far faster and has much higher damage. Every tank has seen either a slight or complete rework. Newcomers to the tank class are Doomfist, who previously had been a DPSer, and the Junka Queen, who is new to the series. Subtle changes for Doomfist included giving him more health, removing his uppercut and replacing it with a block, while lowering his damage slightly, and it feels both well-balanced and well thought out. Another tank, Orisa, has gone from being a slow-moving shield user best on defense to an offensive menace with her new spear throw, deflect, and ultimate ability. It would take a lot of words to break down all the changes, so I'd recommend it for any lapsed fan of the series that may be coming back to search out the latest patch notes whenever you may be watching this. This review is taking place just a little after the launch of Overwatch 2 during its first season of new content. Future seasons in 2023 are planned to include the long-awaited PvE cooperative content. For Season 1 though, we have 80 tiers of cosmetics and 1 new character, the support Kariko. She uses kunai to attack and a cool homing mechanic for healing, along with a ridiculously powerful ultimate that buffs all teammates' movement and attack speed while they stand in it. The third new character not mentioned before is Soju, who is a DPS focused on using her fast-firing assault rifle to charge up and power her devastating railgun shots. She has rocket legs that move in a similar, though far wilder manner to Reinhardt's rocket charge. And the previously mentioned Junker Queen is a big brute with a powerful close-range weapon and an axe which she can throw or slice with. Her ultimate sees her dash forward in a straight line, dealing moderate damage, but leaving a damage over time debuff and causing all players it hits to be unhealable. It had been over 3 years since the last hero was released, along with any maps or modes, into the series, and not only do we get these 3 really fun heroes to start with, but a bunch of new maps and a new mode called Push. Along with reworked lighting and assets for the original maps, a large collection of these new ones for various modes were released at launch. They include Circuit Royale, Midtown, Paraiso, Coliseo, New Queen Street, and Esperanza. These maps can be either the classic payload or control variety, but all assault maps are now relegated to customs as the mode has been removed entirely from matchmaking. A few of them feature the new push mode, which has each team work to have a robot push forward an objective per side. To gain control of that one robot, you must be the only ones in range of it, similar to how the points and payload systems work. It ends up being a long game of back and forth with tons of movements on maps featuring multiple paths to get back and forth often in my experience, and I've really enjoyed it. The other massive change for the series, and perhaps the one that most earns the 2 moniker, is the change to becoming free-to-play, which was a massive headache at launch. For returning players, you can merge your account to finally have the same unlocks and stats across all the platforms the game is available on. This was completely broken at launch, of course, and led to my first 3 days of trying to play the game being met with only error codes, anger, and ultimately sadness. Once the weekend hit though, the problems had been solved and I was met with all my unlocks, stable servers, and a brand new progression system. If you are new to the franchise, you'll have to play 100 matches to unlock the original roster and reach rank 55 of the Battle Pass to unlock the new support. For returning players though, it should all be unlocked right away, including all 3 of the new characters if you have the Origins Edition DLC tied to your account. At $10 US, the Battle Pass has seemed like fair value, offering up over 80 different cosmetics. The majority of these would have been tied to loot boxes before, but it's the reality of free-to-play games that this system just works, and people will put far more money into it than seemingly any other type of monetization system. For purchasing the Battle Pass, you get Kiriko, a skin for D.Va, a weapon charm, and 20% more experience for the entire season. As long as the quality and quantity of what is on offer doesn't change too much in each season, there are worse ways to spend $10 on a game if you're enjoying this one. One question I do have though is how special events will work. Overwatch has had a seasonal event every 2 months for a while now, and most of the skins attached to them from the first game are now locked to paid purchases in the store, so I'm curious how that's going to end up working in practice. Graphically, I think the game looks great, offering up reworked versions of each character as an Overwatch 2 skin alongside a slick new UI that only took me a few hours to get used to. There are 3 graphical settings on offer, with all of them having slight issues. First up is resolution, which aims for a dynamic 4K resolution and 60 frames per second. Next is the balanced mode, which goes for 1440p resolution and 60 frames per second, with a little bit higher base settings than the 4K one for your graphical options. Finally, we have the performance mode that lowers the resolution and settings even further, but goes up to 120 frames per second. The resolution mode was my choice for the footage used in this review, but it chugs in the UI and it could drop frames noticeably at times during intense combat. The performance 120Hz mode would be my normal go-to, but it tanks the resolution and settings to the point where it was a little difficult to make things out in the distance for me. So I ended up finding that the balanced 1440p setting worked the best overall for both visual clarity and rock-solid performance. I am on a 1440p monitor, so the resolution mode may work best for you on a TV. And if you have any halfway decent performing gaming PC, you can expect insanely high frame rates at most resolutions and higher settings. Though that does make me wish for better performance in resolution and a better resolution in performance on console. The controls for aiming feel tighter than the original release in my experience so far using a controller. Using an Elite 2, it's one of the better feeling FPS games on the console. Thanks to the game's replay system after a death though, it was obvious that some are still using a Zim or similar device, which allows you to use a mouse for aiming in the console crossplay pool, which has been a scourge for a while now. You can choose to play against PC players if you want, and you must if you group with one, but I wouldn't recommend it as the mouse aim is so far superior to a controller that you will be put at a massive disadvantage. The sound is better than ever with reworked sound effects for most, if not all weaponry, and a bevy of new voice lines for each character. The story has been pushed forward, and as a fan of the series that has read all the comics and the lore, it has been great to hear all the new combos of pre-match banter. I have had a couple of UI bugs where certain actions would become unresponsive until I had hit A in the post-match experience screen, but that's been about it for non-server related issues. Overall, after an incredibly frustrating few days of launch period, the game has felt polished, well-balanced, though not perfectly so, and teeming with new content to dive into. In conclusion, Overwatch 2 is a rebirth for one of my favorite games of the past generation, featuring great new heroes, gorgeous and well-balanced new maps in a new mode and push that I have greatly enjoyed, alongside a progression system that feels about the same as most free-to-play titles. It is an easy recommendation for both new and returning players alike. Add in a upcoming PvE co-op mode next year, and I can see myself easily putting another 1,000 or 2,000 hours into this title over the coming years. As always, thank you so much for watching, and if you can like, comment, and subscribe, it makes YouTube like us even more and show us to more people. And we'll see you here next time on XboxEra.